River Road, you got me running way back home. River Road, you got me running all night long. You got me singing some canal boat song. River Road, you got me running all night long.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Niner Nuts. I am Dan here along with James to my left, I guess. You're right, James, and then Eric below us, and then our special guest, our draft expert, Jackson, has returned once again, like he did 2 weeks ago, to cover some more draft positions or draft football team positions in the draft that we need to address as a team. But guys, gentlemen, how are we all doing?
I'm good.
Yeah, doing good.
Yeah, I mean, signed Devontae Smith to a big extension. I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, it's not good for the Brandon Ayuk market.
No, definitely not.
That was, I don't know. We don't have time for that. No, Brandon's still not signed yet. And it won't be
bad GM.
That definitely won't be addressed until I will explain the schedule again later at the end. But yeah, there's going to be a little bit of a break. My wedding's coming up, and then it's our bye week, but we'll address all that later. We got to dive right into the second part of our draft preview, who we should look at. And we're only covering two positions in this episode, cornerbacks and wide receivers. So, Jackson, I don't know which tab that you have up first. All I'll say is if we're starting with wide receivers, you better have looked at blocking for them, because that is paramount to be on the 49ers.
Oh, absolutely. That would be irresponsible and a waste of airtime to not look at blocking for them. I will say, first of all, with all this Brandon Ayuk drama, make of it what you will. It's, we're bored this time of year, except for the draft. How long, if we've seen like clauses in contracts like we did for Kyler Murray, where like you can't play video games for like so many hours of the week, if we like have clauses in contracts for like Patrick Mahomes that he's not allowed to skateboard or play pickup basketball, are we ever gonna see it where like, okay, you're not allowed to unfollow us on social media? Like, you just cannot unfollow us. Like, legitimately, we might see that. Like, that might be a clause.
While you're technically still under contract with us, because he is technically on the 5th-year option. So
yeah, he is. He is. I just I would not. First time that happens, I'm not going to be shocked.
So we're going to have to be. You're saying like they're going to have to make contracts like North Korea. Like if you don't like us, you still have to like us. Like you still have to. Like. Yeah.
Yes,
or else we will. You have to swear allegiance to the 49ers, or else we'll kill your family.
I mean, something, man. Like, it's got to be addressed, because every year, like, someone unfollows someone, and it's like middle school all over again. Where it's like, oh my gosh, can we stop, please? Can we just get the football? So
I never thought at 30 I would ever feel like the old man yelling at the clouds until. Like, every time this happens, every time James takes a break from Twitter and asks me to run Twitter, which means Twitter doesn't run because I hate it. It's just so funny to me that, it's a new negotiating tactic. No, it's being childish. Like,
yeah. Like I said in the chat, they should just make him a little love letter and a mixtape and send it back to him and be like, "Oh, but we miss you. Please come back. We can't live without you."
But this is now the third negotiation in a row, off-season negotiation in a row that has gone like this for John.
We don't sign people in April. We sign them in August. This has happened. So everybody, George, Fred, Nick, everyone's contract has been signed in August.
It's the dumbest thing, though. That's what bad GMs do. This is what I'm saying. Like, bad GMs wait till August to sign the contract. Howie Roseman signs it in April. We're all good. Everybody's in for camp. We're all good.
We're fine. We're fine. He's on the 5th-year option. He showed up to OTAs, the voluntary OTAs. He showed up. He posted on his story that it was day one vibes. Like, it's gonna be fine. The culture of the locker room is fine. Not to sound like the Commanders GM, but we actually have a good culture in the locker room.
Yeah, as long as he makes it through the first day of the draft and doesn't get traded, I'm good. He'll be back.
Yeah, don't say that now. Like, Jackson, who's a guy that we might need to replace Brandon with in this worst case, darkest timeline, to borrow from Community, or to get rid of Debo, or to replace Debo if, God forbid, we get rid of him now instead of next year.
Absolutely. So I will go ahead. I'll just preface with we're going to do 5 wide receivers and 4 cornerbacks. Just so we stay at the same nine, but since we're doing one less position, figure we expand a little bit. And you need a lot of depth at both positions, right? Both of them should be key special teams contributors, especially if you're drafting them late, or if they're going to be backups if everything goes right, if they're going to be backups, they have to be contributing on special teams. So just to start off with that, I will start off with my favorite fit probably of this whole show. Xavier Legette, the wide receiver out of South Carolina. He's able to create space. He's an incredibly physical specimen at 6'1", 225 pounds, almost a 78-inch wingspan, 40-inch vertical, sub 4.4 40-yard dash. Incredible measurables. He has teach tape on special teams, phenomenal work ethic, and he has no major injury history, right? He missed 4 games in 2020 with a hammy, but that's it. So he sounds like a first-round pick, honestly, on paper. Somehow, he's the 13th wide receiver in the draft, according to PFF, and the 63rd overall player. I will be shocked if he lasts that long. I don't think he's going to be the 13th wide receiver off the board. I think he's going to be picked later than last thing in round 2, right? The only major question mark from him is that his success is very recent, right? If he was on your radar before going into the 2023 season at South Carolina, it was pretty much because of his work on special teams, which was not for nothing. He averaged almost 30 yards per kick return on 15 attempts, but he was not in his first game this year. He gained more yards than he did all of 2022, right? So he definitely hasn't had the consistent production, but in the era of the transfer portal, a lot of these guys don't. So that's not necessarily a huge knock. It's just
and we're getting kickoffs back. That's the thing. This is good because
we are getting kickoffs back. By the way, the amount of XFL tape that's going to be watched from that, oh my gosh, that's the only thing we have to go off of. But that's another conversation for another time.
And we just let Ray go to Atlanta.
No, hey, this Xavier Legette would check a big box on that as far as kick returner. So
if he can pitch better than Ronnie Bell.
As far as how he fits in specifically with San Francisco, 62% of his snaps were as an outside wide receiver, so an X or a Z. You could kick him inside. That's ideal, especially for run blocking. On rushing snaps, he actually blocked 98% of the time. There were only 5 snaps where he was completely out of the action. That's kind of unusual for a wide receiver. That's a very common number for a slot, but for a guy that spends the majority of his time outside, the numbers, not something you see every day. And he only accrued 1 penalty during that time. So he was in the action a lot. He was good at it and didn't shoot yourself in the foot with that. So when watching him, man, he reminded me so much of A.J. Brown, honestly. If you remember when A.J. Brown came out, there were a lot of questions about his footwork, about his route running, but he had the measurables, he had the work ethic, all that. Man, no one can squeeze more out of a player than this coaching staff in San Francisco. I think they would be able to either shape him in what they need him to be, or just use his athleticism in a way where they don't have to reinvent who he is. So actually, when I was watching him, as far as him reminding me of A.J. Brown, I thought that after a couple games, and I was like, man, I got to look up the height, weight, both. It was to the pound, both 6'1", 227, which was just worked out perfect. But yeah, Xavier Legette, very physical player. Think he's probably the best fit. And like I said, 63rd overall player on PFF. I think he's going to go higher than that. So you might need to trade up a little bit, but he would definitely be worth trading up for.
Oh yeah. No, that's an awesome pitch. I got him marked here. He is 6th on ESPN, which
yeah. The media tends to be lower on him than a lot of NFL rooms from what I've seen on on Twitter at least. So take that with a grain of salt. So yeah, PFF is very low on him. I'll be honest. Sometimes I feel like ESPN's is a little bit of a popularity contest, so I'm always going to niche the PFFs in front of ESPN's. But I didn't think it was more than 50% of a difference. So yeah, he's definitely up there. Does it say what he is overall on Kuiper's big board or no?
Let's see, position rank 6, over OVR rank 28, grade 89.
Overall. Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, that's I'm just when you Google ESPN draft and you click on best available, yeah, he's 6th behind Brian Thomas, Adonai Mitchell. I'm sure you're gonna mention at least one of these guys above him, possibly. I'm not gonna try to put words in your mouth, but but yeah, he's 6th on their overall wide receiver position group. But yeah, who do you have next on your list?
I have next. I have Javon Baker, who's a wide receiver from UCF, 17th on PFF's list, 76 overall. The main chatter that you've heard about Javon since the season ended was that he had a 4.54 40 time, which is not ideal. I really just want to address speed should not be a concern for Javon Baker. So if you're seeing that, it's BS. I'm sorry. He has elite play speed. He actually hit 21 miles per hour flat at the Senior Bowl, which was the second fast receiver the entire week of practice. He has the 8th most yards from deep balls in 2022 or in 2023. 574 of his 1,139 yards were from deep balls, which is an incredibly high percentage. He had the 3rd most deep catches. So, and just elite utilization. A lot of times you can see it be like feast or famine from a lot of these outside receivers. He had 84 targets on 377 snaps, and it came out to 3.21 yards per route ran. If you're not familiar with yards per route ran as a metric, just for receivers, just general rule of thumb, anything north of 3 is going to be pretty good. So in the context of like 3.2 is actually like a pretty good jump. So for him to do that as an outside guy is very impressive. So Javon is my second guy that I would have on that list. So,
well, James, you and I will both be happy with a UCF Knight being on the roster, being we both lived fairly close to UCF for a while.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
that did not sound like excitement.
I wasn't a big UCF fan. I'm just not a college football fan. So, I mean,
We saw Blake Bortles win the Tostitos Bowl, though.
Yeah, I mean, Blake Bortles, yeah, and Blake Bortles is undefeated in London, if I remember correctly.
Man.
Yeah.
I did not think we'd be talking about Blake Bortles' international play record. That was not on my bingo card for the show, but
yeah. But yeah, no, that's just funny. I still have a UCF hat in my closet. But yeah, no. Anyway, on to number 3 of 5, right? We have 5 receivers.
Yeah. 5 receivers. Yeah. So my next guy is probably one of my favorite sleepers. He's gained more and more traction as draft season has gone on. So I don't know if he'll be much of a sleeper come the actual draft, but Malachi Corley, this slot receiver from Western Kentucky, by PFF 20th overall receiver, 85th overall. He did not attend the combine. So as far as measurables, we got height, weight. He's 5'10 and a half, 215 pounds, 31 or 32 inch arms, depending on who you ask, where you look. So not a concern either way, though. Honestly, though, no one plays bigger than their actual size in this year's draft than Malachi, in my opinion. As far as where he is, like I said, 86% of his snaps are from the slot. He managed to be just like 15 yards short of 1,000-yard season and had 11 touchdowns on the year. Tell me if this sounds familiar. He had like 8.5 yards after the catch and 330 yards this year off of screens alone, which is the most in college football. So I think he would fit well in the Shanahan offense with that.
Yeah.
He had Bailey Zappi actually as his quarterback in 2022. So he, in my opinion, got a little bit overshadowed this year. But his production honestly didn't skip a beat. He had 2.78 yards per route ran, which I said 3 is that like elite mark. 2.78 is still one of the highest numbers. So as far as elite competition, Western Kentucky, obviously that's going to be a concern because he's not playing the big boys each year. Because of that reason, I did watch his tape against Ohio State. What made me think about San Francisco when watching him, he had his best plays when he started from the outside, so lined up as an X or Z, and then pre-snap motioned inside, and then he was like damn near unstoppable once from whatever route he ran, whatever play he was going on when he motioned inside. So obviously we know Shanahan loves to motion. A quote from Jim Nagy, the director of the Senior Bowl, said, just put it perfectly, no one in this year's draft is more physical with the ball in his hands, and he is the definition of contact balance. It's not just Jim hyping up his Senior Bowl guys like he does every year. He was voted on by the opposing DBs as wide receiver of the week after his week of practice in Mobile. So as far as if we're trying to predict where he lands, not many have mocked him to San Francisco because 9 teams sent their wide receiver coach to his pro day at Western Kentucky, none of which were the 49ers. Personally, I'd rather spend my time actually evaluating these guys than trying to figure out where they're going to land. But I think any receiver room would be instantly improved with Malachi in it. So
that's just really interesting looking to strictly at his height and weight. Like he's not as tall at only 5'11", but he's big. He's
not big. And he has long arms, which is 31, 32 inches. That's good for like 5'10", 5'10" and a half. That's he's got the weight to make up for it. Like he's got some power. Like just look up Malachi Corley highlights and you'll see like he plays physical, man. Like he is a physical dude.
We talk about these guys as measurements. Do any of you guys know how long your arms are? I have no idea how long my arms are. Like you're talking, it's like 31, 32 inches. I immediately start looking at my arm. Like I have no idea how long my arm is. Like, no clue.
I was gonna say I don't have a full size football within arm's reach. No pun
intended. I'm pretty short, so I have a wingspan of a fly. I think compared to these guys,
Oh man, this guy's just 71-inch wingspan. Forget him.
I don't know my wingspan, but I know my little hands can't actually grab a full NFL sized football. Like so.
All right,
I'm not playing quarterback. Like
yeah.
Dan, just right somewhere in some closet in Indianapolis, I'm sure you can find whatever they use to measure all of these 300-something guys' arm lengths. Can you do that for us? Can you just
I'll go to Lucas Oil right now.
There's got to be something in there that's easy.
It'll be a $5 Uber ride. Like
yeah. Also, can you find football on a stick if you're familiar with that Twitter account from Rich Eisen? Yeah, just find football on a stick too.
I'll look for that. Anyway, on to 4. Hopefully my internet won't go out on me on this one. But who do we have for 4?
For number 4, we have Ainias Smith, a slot receiver from Texas A&M. 23rd overall receiver by PFF, 124th overall player. He did not participate on the combine because during the medical evaluations, it was discovered he had a stress fracture in his left shin. He is as far as measurables, we don't have as much of that, at least for the workout portion. He's actually one of the guys that I watched last spring, like after the draft in preparation for this year, and then got to visit back after this year, which is, I enjoy doing that as much as I can, just so I can get a sense of his growth. Man, he improved so much against zone defense specifically. And for me, he probably hasn't reached the ceiling if in 1 year that he fixed so much of that, because I was actually labeled as a concern. And then without looking back at my notes from 2021, I went back and watched him. And that was a strength in my eyes. So really did a lot better in that. Another concern that turned into a strength, that just seemed to be like a little bit of a lack of effort from before in run blocking specifically. That seems to have gotten fixed. He blocked guys. The game that I watched 2023 against LSU, man, he was assigned like Harold Perkins out there. If you don't know the name, he is first team all SEC as a freshman. Like Harold Perkins is a beast. And I mean, Ainias Smith is 5'9". Like no one should be blocking Harold Perkins at his size. So his downsides, catch radius is just very, very short. He is a savvy route runner, but he is definitely not a burner like most smaller guys are. Another positive thing, he's going to contribute as a returner. There were also outside runs where he was asked to block on the perimeter, so not inside linebackers, and he was perfectly fine. It's not really someone that you have to hold your breath if he's assigned to block a slot corner or even a wide corner or something like that. He was used in motion a pretty good bit. Personally, I think he's best when he's stationary at the snap. In my opinion, his change of direction just deteriorates when he's running full speed. We saw a couple of jet sweeps where he was just, toss the ball and he just couldn't turn upfield like he really needed to. So I prefer him to be stationary from the slot. But man, as a route runner, like I said, savvy route runner, has a phenomenal understanding of blind spots. He had some really great routes where the quarterback's timing was just off, so he's not going to get the credit for yards, but he definitely earned some take points because he was definitely open. As far as where he fits in at San Francisco, he checks the boxes of run blocking. He's a sensible route runner. He's a special teams contributor. You know what you can and what you can't ask him to do going in. He's never going to be like a number one receiver or anything like that, but he has the ability to be a fantastic supporting piece, in my opinion. He's going to be going against slot corners, and he knows how to navigate through them, and how with outside linebackers, he knows how to manipulate. So, Anais Smith, slot receiver from A&M.
It wouldn't be bad to have some competition between Ronnie Bell, Juwan Jennings, and if we did bring in Anais, what do you guys think? Just real quick on the last note on this guy. I think I'm open to having some slot competition.
Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, you definitely need slot competition. And we just talked about, where's Brandon? It may be bye-bye Brandon. I think he's going bye-bye. But, you're going to need more competition in the wide receiver room. So, yeah, another third down guy like this guy, I would definitely take him to go in there again, for third and Juwan and the rest of them.
Well, I mean, I know as a draft specialist when I build my Madden franchises, because that's where all my expertise comes in. You can never have enough wide receivers. So, I mean, I agree with the whole sentiment there. I would stack up as many people as I can, and you just let it sort itself out, right? You just see where the chips fall and what you end up with, and guys that you think, are good, maybe don't turn out to be as good as the guys that you bring in and that you draft, and they end up being something special. So, I have no problem with that.
I dig it. And just for the record, Jackson, so you hear it, I think that we're going to backload Brandon's contract and have Brandon and Debo one last time, and then we're going to cut Debo next year. That's what I think's going to happen. Eric, you and I are on the same page on that too.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, clearly, since John Lynch is a fan of the show, he's going to draft Anais. He's going to start doing contract extensions in April, and he's bringing Brandon Ayuk back. So I think we pretty much figured out the offseason here. So
yeah, well, yeah. This is how it will go. Brandon will hold out until the final week of preseason. We'll come on this show and tell John he needs to sign him right now. 3 hours after the show airs, he will be signed. That's what happened last year.
John,
you know as damn well as all of us do, he'll play chicken. He is not afraid to play chicken. He played chicken for Jimmy. He played chicken for everybody. But beside the point.
Yeah. But then we aired our show, and 3 hours later, Nick Bosa was signed to the biggest defensive contract there was.
The fastest turnaround from fresh to expired an episode has had yet on the show.
Yes.
It'll be pretty impressive to top 3 hours this year. All right. So anyway, who's this fifth and last guy? And just because I like to see your reaction to it, Anais was only 30th, and his overall position is 252. So he's pretty deep down there on ESPN's board.
Oh, very deep down there. Wow, 252. Man, that's what is with these being so drastically different?
I just like your reaction to it.
Yeah.
30th 30th wide receiver, 258 overall.
The only one that I've seen that's accurate though is Daniel Jeremiah. Like if you look at his top 50 list and then who the top 50 picks are, 1 year was like 46 of his top 50 went in the top 50, like an insanely high number. So he's been interviewed to be a GM for a reason. So
let's get the old GM of the Indianapolis Colts to come on here and tell us what he thinks of Mel Kiper.
Yes.
Oh,
who the hell is Mel Kiper?
Polian or Ballard? Which one?
You never saw that clip from back in the 90s?
Oh man.
Are you talking about?
Dan, you gotta see it, man. You gotta see it.
Yeah.
We'll put it after. It's something with Polian chewing somebody out?
No, it's before. It's in the 90s. I don't think it's Polian. No.
I might be getting my GMs mixed up. No, it's somebody send me it and I'll watch it when we're off mic.
If someone ever comments, who the hell is Jackson Danner? Like I've made it, man.
Yeah. The GM goes, who is Jackson Danner anyway?
Yeah.
It'll be John Lynch.
Some Joe Schmo. I'm like, man, I got insulted by someone who I have, no relationship with. This is perfect.
If it's John Lynch, it would be perfect.
Oh my gosh, man. Yeah, that would be great.
He's like, who's this guy on Niner Nuts? Who the draft?
Who's this idiot? Yeah. Oh man.
God, that's funny.
Well, I will go my fifth and last guy. I'm actually going to talk about a receiver that's actually very similar to Anias, in my opinion. He draws a lot of similarities. Another smaller slot receiver that can be physical, Malik Washington. He's a wide receiver from Virginia. I will preface that a lot of his stats are kind of padded from when plays broke down. He has an incredible ability to improvise, which I don't know if you guys know, that's not a big part of the Shanahan offense. But he was on a 3-9 team. So kind of why some plays broke down. But he was there to bail it out a lot of times. As far as what we did see on tape that does translate, it was a phenomenal understanding for a slot guy of how to read defenses. You would be watching tape and you have to have kind of a premium on football IQ the closer they are to where the ball is being snapped, right? Especially for slot wide receivers, tight ends, only because they're the only pass catchers that have to be aware of multiple position groups, right? Like you have to be as an X or Z, you have to be reading your corner, sometimes reading what the safety is going to be doing. Slot guys, tight ends, man, they have to be able to read like the defense like a quarterback for half of the field, right? So he did a great job as far as that. We also saw some just undeniable toughness. He was first in college football in broken tackles with 35 total. He was tied for the second most bench press reps at the combine with 19. He's only 5'8", 191, so that's very impressive. And he had a 65% contested catch percentage. So all of which just prove his toughness. Also has just, oh my gosh, so much production for a slot guy. He accounted for 46% of his team's receiving yards, which is just Trey McBride type numbers. Like you just don't see that very often. No one had more yards from the slot than him too. In all of college football, he had 1,127 slot yards, which is a great season, much less from one specific spot. So, in my opinion on him, even though we've seen some things that wouldn't necessarily be a perfect scheme fit, how you do anything is how you do everything. He will get knocked because he just wasn't asked to be a precision route runner with great timing, but he was asked to get open, and he figured that out. He had a 42.5-inch vertical, so we know he's explosive. And he has the wherewithal and the strength to not get bullied. So I think he would be good.
So Jackson, nice. out of all those guys that you never mind.
No. I think he's just through the computer speakers.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm good. Yeah. My wife came home and had trouble getting the door open, so I had to.
No, that's okay. We heard it's fine.
Your dog made my dog, go alert.
Yeah. Out of those 5 guys, which do you think would actually be available, we'll say, in like the 3rd round or later? Because I don't think the Niners are going to take one with the first pick, obviously, and I don't think they'll get one with the second round pick either. So I would think third round pick or later, the Niners would be looking at a receiver. So which one of those guys do you think would still be available?
I mean, according to ESPN, you can get Anaya Smith as a UDFA.
Apparently.
But I think the bottom, I think for Malachi Corley, who's the Western Kentucky guy, I wouldn't be shocked if you could get him in the third round. He would have to slide a little bit. I think a lot of teams are getting higher on him. So maybe if Malachi slides, I don't think you're going to get Javon. I don't think you're going to get Xavier Legette. Okay. But then Anais, obviously, and Malik, you could definitely get in the third round or later. I think a win for him would be like early day 3 in my opinion. So
okay.
But yeah, that's my opinion. So watch it be in complete reverse order. So
right. Very nice. Well, I got these all written down. I will be our representative come draft day. I'll keep our master checklist updated with who goes where. So now let's keep steaming right through this. Cornerback, as I told you off mic, after this year, we could have a literally completely different cornerback room because everyone's contract is up that had any meaningful playing time last year. So that includes Mooney too, unless we manage to extend him. But so yeah, we need some cornerbacks pretty fast. So who should we be taking a look at?
Yeah, so I'm going to go with 2 guys that you can get probably on day 2 if they slide kind of early day 3, and 2 guys that, like, honestly, if you don't either trade up in the second a little bit at least, or if you don't take them in the first round because you guys have a late first round pick, then I don't think you're going to get them. So I'll go with my 2 guys, the 2 best guys, I guess, the 2 guys that you probably would have to get in the first round or get in the second if they fall a little bit or trade up. Mike Sainristil, he's a slot corner from Michigan, 7th overall corner, 36th overall, according to PFF. The 2 games that I watched of him were from the college football playoff. So that's hopefully where you're playing your best football, right? The semifinal against Texas, and then the national championship, obviously, against Washington. Semi against Bama, and then the national championship against Washington. So my notes on him: really strong closing burst. He purposefully leaves a lot of space to the ball when covering flats, where he can either have the opportunity to open field tackle, where he does not miss, or he can use his close to break to the ball. So he will leave a lot of space, more than probably most people would be comfortable with when watching, but he seems to make it work. He's not always going to be aware of what exactly is behind him in zone, in my opinion. That was his main downside. Obviously, that can be a concern if you're playing a lot of zone defense, and he's a slot corner. He can be very linear in coverage too. So he's not, sometimes will make like wasted steps a requirement when in pursuit. He rarely moves in tight angles in zone, in my opinion. So you're never going to see him like back up and then like break to the ball on a very tight angle. He's a very lateral player. So seems to be most comfortable when moving east and west, if that makes sense. He plays wide, not high, is what I wrote. So he plays extremely tight, though, in deep man-to-man. He sometimes can draw penalties, but there is 0 separation. So he's very, very tight in man-to-man. It's the opposite of when he's playing short or shallow zone. As far as pass rushing, because sometimes you do need that in the slot corner, he had 11 pressures and 2 sacks on 38 pass rushing attempts, which is not bad. But I mean, 2 sacks on 38 pass rushing attempts, a lot of people would love that. But sometimes you want to see a little bit more as far as from a corner. So, but like I said, I'm watching him in his what should be his 2 best games, but also what is his 2 toughest games, right? If you're playing at worst the 4th team in the nation. So, but yeah, Mike Sainristil, still the slot from Michigan, was my first guy. So,
right on. let's just I got him marked down. Let's just roll into number 2. You said these two guys both are realistic for like second round picks, right?
Yeah, these two guys are I could see them sliding where you can get them. You'll either have to take them first, which would probably be overpaying a little bit, or they might very well land to where you guys are in the second round. It just depends on how everything plays out. But we'll know. I'll answer that for you on Friday morning of the draft. How about that? I'll let you know then. Yeah, if you can get them in the second. So my next guy was probably one of my favorite guys to watch, TJ Tampa, the corner from Minnesota. Not textbook footwork, but he was very, very practical. His long speed was largely untested because he never really allowed significant separation. He's very, very tall dude, had unusually natural fluid for his length. One of my favorite reps I posted on my Instagram story. It was his first target that I had watched of him lining up against the tight end. Basically, it was against BYU. The Z receiver motioned to the other side of the play. So it was man to man. He was lined up on the C receiver. Then he moves in to the furthermost outside receiver, which was a tight end, an inline tight end. Man, didn't skip a beat. It was trying to be a post route, if I remember right. And, feet on a cliff, did not move as the tight end was coming towards him. Forced redirection, shallowed him step by step. It was clearly done for a mismatch because the quarterback made this decision very quickly that he was going to the tight end and just used those 32-inch arms just to swat the ball away. It was a very impressive play. So my main knock on him, he's not so much of a hard hitter. He is a bit of an arm tackler. He's not going to shed blocks with physicality or hands, but he does have a really good shoulder dip to get around when rushing play side or when the play side was knowingly towards him, and he was often double teamed, right? So a lot of guys, when the ball was going his side, he was either double teamed or they assigned like a tight end on him. So as far as speed, because there's no greater equalizer in any position than speed is for corners, he had 21.3 miles per hour against Iowa. That was the highest for the 2023 season. Hit 21.3 miles per hour. The highest for the 2023 NFL season was 22.2. So not even 1 mile hour difference. That was DK Metcalf that hit that. So very fast. So.
That's a big man to be moving that fast.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I do not want that coming at me in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Hey,
yeah.
Jordan Davis ran a 4.78 40. Jordan Davis, he's like 300 pounds.
Yeah, that might be more terrifying, honestly.
Yeah.
That is monstrous. So
I do apologize. Say his name one more time because you said Minnesota, right? You didn't misspeak his college.
TJ Tampa is his name.
From where again?
Minnesota.
Yeah, he's literally
with the smallest drinks, right?
Yeah. He does not drink many sodas, apparently.
You'll laugh at this. He's literally not on this ESPN board I'm looking at.
Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Oh my gosh. Hold on. Let me see. Where is he on PFF? I can't remember. I love this dude.
No, I'm not joking. He's literally not on this. If it looked like I was daydreaming, I was scrolling through this list 3 times. I don't see him. That's why I had to ask his name again, because I just wrote the school down. I was like, oh, crap.
The first line in PFF scouting report, Tampa's unique fluidity and size for a corner makes him worthy of a top 75 pick. Can't make this up.
Okay, hold on. Here we go.
Who the hell is Mel Kiper anyway?
My gosh, man.
No, he does have an ESPN profile, but no, he's not on the big board at all. Nope.
That's insane to me. Oh my gosh.
That's going to be the steal of our draft.
Well,
no one knows about him.
This is why everyone on Twitter says like, "Oh, who the hell is this guy?" Because he doesn't even have like a draft profile on there, not even ranked on ESPN. So,
yeah, well, you heard it here on Niner Nuts from Jackson. Top.
I'm gonna bold that one just to make emphasis on it. But yeah, no. Who do we got for number 3 now? Since we're already out of the ESPN rankings, apparently.
Yeah, well, if TJ Tampa,
pretty soon he's going to be like Eric Ott, cornerback for the. He's got a random arm length because we don't know how to measure arms.
Are we drafting water boys? Because I'll apply for that.
Yeah,
I'll
exactly.
be the water boy.
Yeah.
Oh man. Oh my gosh. Well, okay. All right. You know what? I give up. ESPN. I don't know what's going on. So, my next quarter, I'm gonna go with Kyrie Jackson. He is a wide corner, not a slot corner from Oregon. On PFF, number 9 corner, number 67 overall. So he's probably, the preferred UDFA on ESPN, I guess. I don't know. So, he was actually a transfer from Alabama, where according to people on that coaching staff at Bama, he was, quote, the most talented defensive back in that room. You know who else was in that room? Brian Branch, Jordan Battle, and Malachi Moore. So an incredibly high compliment. In my opinion, he's really going to be best in cover 1 or cover 3 teams. So like San Francisco, that's part of what made me drawn to him for you guys. The 2 games that I watched of his were 2023 versus Washington, one of the best college football games I've ever seen in my life, at least in the past decade. So worth going back and watching. And also 2023 versus Colorado. That was earlier in the year. He really gained a lot of traction on draft Twitter, at least after that game. So as far as his length, he's 6'2.5", 78-inch wingspan. Very fluid, again, for his length. He's at his best, in my opinion, when he's on an island. Sometimes you would see him be in like cover 6 and just the communication wasn't there as much to pass off to a different zone. He's able to hold his ground just fine. So like I said, cover 1, cover 3, really going to be reliant on yourself if you're in that kind of coverage. So has a very good use of hands, one of the better uses of hands I've seen this year. He does a lot of, I always say, like hindering without holding, because it's just so tempting just to grab if you're using your hands heavily in coverage. He doesn't seem to hold as much, and it's just like uses them very well. So in my opinion, in press coverage, I think he plays a little too heavy on outside leverage. Sometimes he would be guarding the outside so much that he would just give these like quick little outs or these quick slants when like you knew it was coming, when he was lining up so much to not give the out route or to be able to go deep in coverage and have the leverage he needed, right? So that was one of my knocks on him. He also he has good long speed, but not the initial acceleration, if that makes sense. So has really long strides. He can make up ground with time, but just not going to be a strong closer, if that makes sense, initially at least. So one thing of note, I'll be honest, I don't know how this fits in with you guys. He played predominantly on the left-hand side for what it's worth. I don't know where you would be expecting him to play. If he is going to sit for a while, or at least for this year, he's an outstanding special teams player as well. So at least immediately he can walk in and contribute on that, if not anywhere else. So
we don't typically, we've had Moody follow before. We don't typically ask Moody to follow. So
Moody usually plays on the left.
So yeah, it'd be, I mean, that was going to be my question. When you ask that, are you looking through the quarterback's eyes? Because the quarterback would see Moody on his right, throwing.
Right? Yeah, that's how I do it. At least that's how I do it. If you're the quarterback,
Moody would always be on to the right of the quarterback, right, Eric?
Yeah, I think the coaching world is the other way around, but that just like throws me off. I could be wrong on that. I honestly don't know, but when I'm watching, I just think of like through the quarterback's eyes, and that's
then Moody would be on the right typically.
So it would be. So it's like the distinction of theater of like stage right versus right. Like
yeah.
Oh, you brought theater into it. You lost me. I know.
No worries.
By
the way, oh sorry.
Yeah, it's either quarterback right or defensive left, whichever you want to prefer. Yeah.
Hey, there you go.
Oh my gosh, how did it take me 25 years to figure that out? Quarterback left,
your side or driver's side. Like,
yeah. You got to look for the little arrow on your dash where the gas tank is. That's what you got.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we got to look for. Yeah.
God, my Subaru made me have to. Many times I've had to reposition myself because my Subaru has it on the wrong side. But anyway,
he said the wrong side. That man, wrong way.
Excuse me while I hoist up my American privilege pants. Kyrie is 12th, by the way, so we're back on the big board.
Hey!
Yes. And just given what time it is, not to like not to make it a lightning round, but yes,
we'll
let's
play quick. We'll play quick.
yes, your last two gentlemen.
Oh, he's only got one.
One more. One more.
Oh, I thought you had
Uno mas.
high, unless you ask ESPN, and two that are going a little bit lower at least. So still takes you guys, though, in my opinion.
Gotcha. My apologies.
My next guy, Max Melton from Rutgers, 10th overall corner according to PFF, 80th overall on the big board. I watched his games versus Michigan and Ohio State, so obviously two of the tougher opponents looking at those wide receiver rooms. Not once did he really look lost in my eyes. He has as good of a first step as there is in this draft class, in my opinion. In zone coverage, he is acutely aware of what is behind him, which is really good. He can stutter a bit at the breaking point of a route, does cause him to lose a little bit of leverage when he's not attached to the hip. It's more when he's not attached to the hip, it's more of a lack of anticipation, though, not a lack of athleticism, if that makes sense. Tested good enough. What really gets me excited, though, speed-wise, is that during Senior Bowl week again, he was the first player to hit that 20 miles per hour threshold, so got going fast. I always like watching tape first and then reading about these guys just to avoid like confirmation bias. When I watched him, I thought he was a better fit at slot corner, despite him playing literally 90% of his snaps at wide corner or box safety or anything other than slot. PFF said the same thing, so at least I know I'm not spewing complete nonsense that someone else with some kind of credibility thought the same. So, like I said, played wide corner his whole career. I think PFF thinks we would, he would be better kicking him to the inside. So, one nice thing though, despite him being on the outside, he is not afraid to get involved in the run game. That said, he did have a 42 tackling grade, largely due to 12 missed tackles. It was not a lack of effort, definitely. It just definitely a side tackler. So, or side arm tackler.
We don't need any more missed tackling problems. I'll go ahead and put that out there.
You do not need that. Although, James, I can't remember that playoff game against Tampa. You guys didn't have an issue with that, right?
Yeah, I mean, even Deion Sanders never tackled either. So
those guys weren't Deion Sanders, though. That's
out here and be like corners tackled. They don't tackle.
Was running all over you guys. That was the problem.
Nobody tackles as a corner. Like, what the hell? That's the linebackers and defensive line job. The corner's job is to just push them out of bounds or get them out of bounds.
No, don't
angle
forget
them in the direction.
Yeah.
Don't forget. I'll dogpile on the Eagles a little bit. Don't forget. I only just saw this on my. I only remember this because I just saw it on my reels yesterday. It was, I think, Devontae Smith, one of your receivers, caught the ball, took 2 steps, and Demo, fully legal, all arm, right into his chest and knocked him down, like dead stopped in his tracks.
He still got up though.
Well, yeah, no, he didn't actually die.
Literally looks like a paperclip out there. He looks like a paperclip, but he just.
Oh, Swift. No, I'm sorry, it was Swift.
Oh, Swift. Okay.
Yeah, Swift caught a dump off pass, and then Demo literally just like he hit a wall. It had momentum, and then he was down.
Yeah.
As far as Max Melton, though, I will say overall, I think he's a player that his floor is really high, especially if you kick him inside. I think he can be even better, but coming on, I don't know if he would be an immediate contributor or if I would be comfortable with that, but you kick him inside, give him some time to develop. And if he does have to go out there, God forbid, because of an injury or, you don't think he's been in the oven long enough, so to speak, and you have to let go some of these corners. I think, like I said, his floor is just so high. I wouldn't be that worried about it. So,
well, yeah,
a lot of guys from the Big Ten in your quarterback listings there.
Yeah, you're right. I do, especially if you count the new Big Ten.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they benefit the team, like if we draft Max, I'll just ignore that he's from Rutgers. That's the only for some reason. I have a very arbitrary reason why I just don't like Rutgers.
You say that. I probably shouldn't be saying this if I'm trying to gain any credibility. As a Florida fan, man, I will watch guys from Florida State, and I have to I've had to go back and start over the game that I'm watching because I'm like, okay, I like just hate Florida State so much, and we're raised on that. Like I'm watching this with like a filter that is not good. I'm like, okay, I have to start over because like everything I'm seeing, every single mistake is just not giving credibility for what I see. So yeah. So trust me, I've had to do that too, Dan. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I feel that. Yeah, I won't. Yeah, no one from IU deserved to be on here. I just, I know I cheer for probably the worst team in the Big Ten right now, or if not bottom 3. But no, I love this list overall.
Yeah,
thank you.
It's 2 weeks away, right?
Yeah. Not this Thursday, but next Thursday.
Yeah, no, I'm the spotlight first, and then the draft.
Love it. So we'll see how it shakes out. I'm excited.
Joe, with their first pick in the first round, selects Dan Brown.
I love it. Wait, there's a trade. She swaps a 2025 pick.
Yes. I only got traded for a 6th.
Unfollow her on Instagram.
Yeah.
No, it's even worse. It's even worse than the Hassan Reddick trade. That's a 2026 pick.
Yeah.
How's that bad? Tell me how that's bad. No, listen. But think about it. Aaron Rodgers.
Why do you have to poke the bear?
Dude, man, Aaron Rodgers is not going to be there in 2025. The stupid Jets are going to suck in 2025, and that second pick is going to be in the freaking high 40s.
That's what the
gamble
gamble
like having a first
is.
round.
No, it's interesting. It was just interesting to see. I don't know. The more I've thought about it, the more it's just like, damn, Howie really does play 40 chess. Like, it's like, damn it. Okay, sorry about that. But yeah, no, this is like we were saying, this was a really good list. I'm gonna get traded on my wedding night, like we were joking. But yeah, no, I will keep track of all these guys. I will I'll let all of us know. And then obviously, Jackson, thanks again for coming to be a part of this.
Yeah.
Of course. Always happy to. Always happy to talk draft. So
yeah.
Absolutely. And I think now, because we're pushing our time that I set for us, we need to talk about our sponsor real quick before we head out. Who is that? It's RoyalRetros.com. RoyalRetros.com is your go-to place to go get yourself an authentic throwback jersey. Not just if you're a football fan. They also have basketball, baseball, soccer. They cover all the major sports. And go ahead right now and check out the Candlestick collection. It's curated with the Bay Area in mind. So there's a lot of cool 49ers themed material on there right now. So when you find something that you like, go ahead and use the promo code Shady Sports, and it'll get you 10% off of your entire order, not just one item, your entire order. You'll get 10% off if you use the promo code Shady Sports. It helps us out. It helps Shady Sports, our parent, out. And yeah, just go to RoyalRetros.com and get yourself an authentic throwback jersey today. Again, use that promo code Shady Sports, 10% off of your entire order. James, let the people know about the charity.
So as you guys know, we've been raising money for charity at Kentucky Crisis Center, Mountain Care Crisis Management, I believe it is. We'll get that. Anyway, the reason why we're doing this is because the Houston Texans minority owner was recently charged with very serious sexual crimes in the state of Kentucky, and we didn't hear about it for a while, enough to say, like, why didn't we hear about it? Yet Dak Prescott, Rashee Rice, right? He's the next one up.
Yep, we're probably days away from him being on the commissioner's exempt list.
Yeah, so these guys literally, I mean, active investigation, not even charged with a crime. We know about it. We know about it beforehand. There's news covering it all day.
For the record, Rashid is charged now.
Oh yeah, he's charged. That we know about it. We know that he's charged. And the fact that a Houston Texans minority owner was charged and we didn't hear about it for 3 months makes us a little upset. And so we think owner standards are actually less than player standards. But the NFL says that it's the other way around. So we're trying to hold them accountable for it. And to do that, we are raising money for our charity. T-shirts. We are selling T-shirts All the proceeds go to our charity. Here's the first one: owner standards are less than player standards. #owner accountability. You can get that for $22.99 in different colors, different sizes, and different styles. Next up, we have our podcast logo art. This you'll find on our Spotify, YouTube, anywhere you listen to us or watch us. On our profile, you will see this logo. $22.99 gets you that in a t-shirt, or we have different styles and different sizes of that. Next, we have our alternate logo, the Niner Nuts with the goalpost and the peanuts. This is a shirt that I own. Very nice quality. $22.99 gets you that in a t-shirt, and we have different colors, different sizes. And of course, our mascot. How can you say no to a peanut eating peanuts while watching and cheering for his Niners? That's right. $22.99 starts with all our t-shirts. Donate to a charity today and help out a Kentucky Crisis Center.
Yeah, guys, the shirts are still available. The money's still going to be going to them. We haven't decided when we're going to stop doing it, so it'll just kind of be like when we feel like it. But they're wonderful. They're a wonderful organization. You can see our interview if you scroll back in our feed a little bit. That was a great interview, and yeah, get yourself a good shirt and help out a good cause. Like you said, we don't want any money from these.
And a little bit of a tease, we are discussing possibly coming out with another design for the shirts as well. So we'll keep you updated on those things as they progress. But look forward to maybe at the beginning of the season having a new t-shirt design.
Yes, we have started the preliminary talks on that for sure. We will address that though after this weekend because on the news front, it's been pretty quiet. We signed Brock Yasin. I was very excited about that, but it's a pretty low-key signing. We literally are barely giving him $1 million. But yeah, guys, as I've mentioned, I am engaged and I'm getting married this weekend. We are not taping an episode for Friday, so another single episode week. Thank you, guys. So yeah, enjoy this and enjoy last week's draft coverage leading up to the draft. Which we will be covering. We're just taking next week off, but then we'll be back to talk about everything that was going on in the draft. Obviously, our picks, but yeah, that's all.
You will be here with Omar. Omar's coming on the show as he did last year to talk about the 49ers draft picks and how they will fit into the 49ers system, their college career, and things like that. So we will still have coverage of the draft after the draft, and we will give you a heads up from Omar who to look out for in camp as to possibly win jobs and do all that. So,
yeah, and we will not be as slow. I promise. Post-wedding, post-draft, we'll get back to a normal, not once every other week schedule. We'll try to go back to our at least 2 to 3 times a week on our on weeks. But yeah, just sorry to disappoint you if you're looking for a Friday episode this week, but no, I'm putting myself above that. So just we'll give you plenty of coverage come draft time, not draft night. But yeah, that's all I got, guys. You guys got anything before we head off?
Dan, was the UFL even a consideration when you scheduled your wedding? Come on, man. People watch.
I'll have to cheer on the Birmingham Stallions from afar.
Man, what a disappointment.
No, congratulations to you, Dan. That's all I got for you, man. Good luck and love to see it. It's going to be a fantastic wedding for you, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. And then James, I will be picking you up from the airport soon. So
Perfect. Yeah. Well, guys, then with that being said, outro music, River Road, Justin Muth.
We'll see you guys at draft time.
River Road, you got me running way back home. River Road, you got me running all night long. You got me singing some canal boat song. River Road, you got me running all night long. River Road, where have all the women gone? Have they kissed her hand and waved you bye-bye? Have they thought about crossing your double yellow lines? River Road, they love the way you